So the fact that we've worked our way from individuals to high net worth individuals to private companies up to, the tech innovators, and now we're working on the mega public corps and the banks, right? That's a sign of the asset improving, and education matters, setting an example matters, right? But there's just a lot of moving parts here, and we're talking about the birth of an asset class and a paradigm shift. And in both cases, right, it's like an organic viral process. It's like, which is, they say one of the first things they taught me at MIT about this was, they said, if you have a pond and there's algae in the pond and the algae is doubling every day, and in 30 days it covers the entire pond, on what day of the month will you notice you even have any algae? And it's like, well, 90% of the days you don't even know you have any. And like on the 26th day, you notice something. And then in 3 more days, the pond's completely covered, right? So with exponential processes, there's a whole lot of nothing apparently going on as the process builds and builds. And all of a sudden, there's a little blip. And then all of a sudden, you have more action, right? Like with Apple stock, right? It took forever, 40 years to make it to $1 trillion. And it took like 18 months to make it to $2 trillion. It's like... But you see that as a phenomenon, and that's the phenomena here, organically, virally spreading everywhere in the world, I think.
Michael Saylor, the co-founder of MicroStrategy, has built what may be the most powerful Bitcoin treasury playbook in the world. And it's not just about making his company richer. It's about reshaping the financial future for all of us. When MicroStrategy first bought Bitcoin in 2020, many called it reckless. Today, it's legendary. Saylor's strategy is simple but genius. Convert a depreciating asset, cash, into a finite, appreciating one, Bitcoin. This move has turned MicroStrategy into the world's largest corporate holder of BTC, with billions in reserves. But here's what's happening now. In recent months, Saylor has doubled down again and again, using every opportunity, stock offerings, convertible notes, and strategic debt, to buy even more Bitcoin. Why? Because he sees BTC as the ultimate inflation-proof, corruption-resistant, borderless money. And here's the bigger picture. Saylor's vision isn't just corporate greed. He believes Bitcoin will empower individuals in countries with unstable currencies, protect savings from inflation, and give everyone, from Wall Street to small villages, a fair shot at preserving wealth. It's about creating a financial system where the rules are the same for everyone, everywhere. This isn't just MicroStrategy's playbook, it's a blueprint for financial freedom. Whether you own 1 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, or just a fraction, the principles remain the same. Save in the scarcest asset ever created. In this video, Michael Saylor breaks down his ideologies with crystal clarity, revealing what Satoshi truly gave to the world, a gift that could forever transform global finance. So, what's your take? Is Michael Saylor spearheading a financial revolution, or making the boldest gamble in corporate history? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video sparked something in you, hit that like button, share it with a friend who needs to hear this, and subscribe so you never miss the next big Bitcoin move. Now, let's get more insights from Michael Saylor.
So, yeah, I think there are a lot of good businesses to be created on Bitcoin, but the operative words are on Bitcoin, on Bitcoin, and focus. And that's why laser eyes matter so much. It's just laser-like focus, right? And just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. And some people have to do a thing. Or maybe there's a responsible way to do the thing because you're solving a problem. Like in Shanghai, they want Bitcoin, but they need a state-regulated, custodian that the Chinese government will support. So the guy that sets up a Bitcoin ETF in Shanghai will open up a gateway for 1 billion Chinese people to buy Bitcoin, and that'll be good for China and good for the world and good for Bitcoin. And that's an idea, right? There's probably another idea, is probably a regulated Chinese company that could be the MicroStrategy of China, right? So Satoshi gave us a big idea, like perfect money, profound, big, huge paradigm shift idea. But it's not different than electricity. It's like, or fire, right? Oh, we can extract energy from material, right? Right. We can actually move energy cleanly, powerfully over hundreds of miles into your bathroom. Okay, that's the big idea. But how many different businesses got launched based on fire? How many businesses got launched based on electricity? A lot, right? Like a lot. How many businesses got launched or will be launched based on digital capital, digital energy? Oh, a lot, I have no doubt. But it's just like, just remember, pick the right protocol, and don't get distracted and try to avoid blowing yourself up, in the process. And then you'll do okay. Right. The empowerment of Bitcoin is, wouldn't it be great if we took our money, we invested in an asset, and we could turn off the TV and forget about it for a decade? Right. That's why at the end of the day, you have to keep coming back to Bitcoin and come back to this idea of an asset without that counterparty risk, right? Without them, you could talk for 20 hours about the risks, right? And for the most part, most people would benefit just understanding Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, I think, is the solution to the great majority of the people's problems. These other things it's like, there's a professional guy who has an equity investment fund who might have $10 billion of capital, and their charter says they have to invest in publicly traded operating companies that trade on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. And so that guy can't buy Bitcoin, even though I would say that's the risk-adjusted best thing. At the end of the day, it's like that guy can't buy that. And that guy took money from a pension fund that represents 8 million retired firefighters or something, and they can't buy Bitcoin. So what you have is you have one pension fund that represents the interest of unborn children, people that don't even live right now, right? It's truly a public institution with a long duration. They're looking out 100 years. They have allocated their capital to a variety of money managers. They might have 2% with a commodity trader. That guy can buy Bitcoin maybe. They've got another X% with an equity trader. That guy can't. The pension fund can't do anything. So when you look at the way that capital is structured in the 21st century, if you're a public company, you can create public securities that meet the requirements of all these pools of capital. That's just useful. That's a solution for them, right? Just like a Chinese pension fund cannot and probably cannot buy a United States-based software company, right? We have lots of pools of capital, and they represent real people, living, dead, or about to be born. And Bitcoin represents the digital transformation of the capital markets. And if you're going to rebuild hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital, and you're going to give them a path from physical capital and financial fiat capital to digital capital, well, there's a lot of commercial banking to be done. There's a lot of investment banking to be done. There's a lot of money management to be done. There's a lot of journalism and analysis to be done. Someone has to create the securities. We need the auditors and the accountants to account for it. We need the lawyers to figure out how to disclose and assess all the risks. There's a bunch of regulations that have to be formed to clarify. Right? There's a lot of work for a lot of people in the ecosystem. And you can make your career being a leader in any one of those areas. There's a dude that figured out how to create electric shavers, and the contribution is it works and it doesn't electrocute you. And it was probably there's an entire company that dedicated their, 30 years to perfecting that thing. And we're going to have the equivalent of those sort of things, right, in the digital assets ecosystem. And that's the inspirational part. There's something to do in your day job. That's how you earn money. But, never forget, right, that you got to see the world as P&L and balance sheet. On your P&L, you should do something, whatever you're best in the world at, whatever you're best. If you're a dentist and you're the best dentist in your city, you'll have a good job. My advice is make sure you stay on top of the dentistry thing, right? And be a good dentist. On your balance sheet, that's where you want to take the lowest risk. I would generally recommend someone figure out how to buy Bitcoin and just figure out, are you going to custody it, or who do you trust to custody it for you? And that's about the extent of the risk you want to take. And leave all of the other risk taking to securities professionals who do it for a living. And they either obsess over it, or they obsess over it and then they diversify. Like my view is, I think diversification is a dirty word with regard to Bitcoin. Like, once I've decided it, I don't want to diversify. But if I'm trading securities, if you said, well, here's 100 companies backed by Bitcoin, or 100 AI, what are my two best ideas? Digital capital, digital intelligence. If you came to me and you said, well, here's a dozen digital intelligence ideas, well, I don't know if I'm going to put all of my money into one of them, right? And here's 10 companies on the Bitcoin standard. Which one do you trust? Well, you got to think really hard. You better study all those, right? And my job is to obsess over MicroStrategy. That's my day job. That's what I do. I'm not obsessing over the next 27 companies, right? I don't have information into their transparency one way or the other. So I think people should be very thoughtful about that. I think the Bitcoin community is special because the people in the community think longer and harder and deeper about fundamental issues like inflation, demonetization, innovation, monetization, asset macroeconomics. You don't see any gold people thinking super hard about the future of gold with the open source community gold model. And you don't see the art people doing that. You don't see the real estate people, or you don't see the people pitching the S&P index. At the end of the day, their position is just, well, just do it just because. And in fact, the most common position is, well, we know it's probably all risky. Don't invest any money you can't afford to lose. Diversify, and or give me your money and trust me. The Bitcoin community, we're actually looking out 21 years, and we're thinking about this, and you can take that and you can crank in different assumptions about the U.S. debt and the growth rate of any government. You can create models for any country, any company, any family, any endowment, the United States, all the other assets. And so there's a lot of very good discussions to be had there, and there's a lot of reasonable debate. But I think that welcoming the debate is the beginning of a conversation that elevates everyone's thinking to new levels of sophistication. And ultimately, there's just a lot of businesses, most corporations, what's your treasury strategy? Oh, well, we just buy treasuries and look for something better. What? We just have money parked there until we find a good merger. What? Well, the point is, they don't have a strategy. Their strategy is just not to lose too fast. And Bitcoin is about a strategy of winning. And most public companies, most private big companies, and most startups, they all could immediately benefit if people started talking a lot more about, Bitcoin treasury strategies. I would laser focus in on Bitcoin, and then think hard about, what are your professional assets that you can bring to bear? What kind of financial assets can you bring to bear? What kind of political assets can you bring to bear? What kind of communications or marketing assets can you bring to bear? And everybody can do something to both benefit themselves and benefit Bitcoin and benefit all the other Bitcoiners if they think long and hard about what's about to happen.
And that's where we'll leave it for today. After an incredible deep dive with Michael Saylor, peeling back the layers on Bitcoin's true purpose. He paints a picture of Bitcoin not just as a digital asset, but as humanity's greatest financial lifeline. A way out of a broken, inflation-driven system that has trapped individuals, families, corporations, and even entire nations in a cycle designed to drain their wealth. For Saylor, this isn't just numbers on a chart. It's a mission. A mission to replace a faulty currency system with something incorruptible, transparent, and fair. A tool that could rewrite the rules of global finance forever. And as the Bitcoin market gears up for an even more bullish run, the stakes have never been higher. So here's my question to you. Are we witnessing the dawn of a new financial era? Or is this the boldest gamble in corporate history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If today's video gave you value, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear Saylor's perspective, and most importantly, subscribe so you never miss a single update on Bitcoin and the crypto markets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.